Yeah. So after the pass, we had a really long down. Just seemed to go on forever. Not that it wasn't scenic, but it really gets to your knees after a while. And finally we got to the Ray Lakes and found a beautiful campsite at the middle Ray Lake, right here. So this is day 15. Yesterday was a very tough day with about 3,000 feet up and 3,500 feet down. But we finally got to the Middle Ray Lakes, which was a beautiful campsite. We had the whole lake to ourselves. And this morning we're having a nice hike up to Glen Pass, and then probably quite a bit of an easier day than we had yesterday. But we'll see. Okay, we're on the way up to Glen Pass. Way down there you can see Ray Lakes, and we've been coming up for some time now. And unfortunately, Glen Pass is still way up there. It's more of a peak than a pass, if you ask me. I will say this about Glen Pass. It really helps you appreciate how far you've come. Because at this point we've come about more than 180 miles from the north, which is the direction I'm pointing now. On our way down from the pass, we ended up going through a meadow area that was really one of my favorites of the trip, and continued to see just beautiful scenery. Well, as you might be able to tell, it's raining, so the weather finally hit us, and in fact it's on and off hail. The only other rain we had was on day 9 when we were resupplying on the at the Muir Trail Ranch, which kind of made that a hurried, hectic process. As you can see, eventually the weather improved a bit as we're heading up to Forester Pass, which we will go over tomorrow. Forester being 13,000 feet high, which is 1,000 feet higher than any of the other passes. You can still see, though, that there is some potentially threatening weather coming in. Well, we had some rain last night, and it now is clearing, which is great. And I got up early this morning, on trail at 7 a.m., heading up, I hope, to Forester Pass, which, as I said, is our highest pass at 13,000. That little notch in the sun just might be Forester Pass. We'll see. Well, now that I've gotten close to that notch, it turns out it was much too close to be the pass. Okay, getting closer now, and I'm thinking either to the left or to the right of the big monolith right in the middle is probably the pass. And you can actually see a little bit of snow on the rocks from yesterday's precipitation. Although it's possible that it's something over here or even over here. We will see, but we're getting there. So this is the valley we've been coming up through, and we are the first on the trail today. So at least from this side, we may well be the first hikers up Forester. And it looks as though those notches to the right are the actual pass, just based on where the trail is heading at this point. It looks as though right up here is going to be the location of the pass, rather than the two notches for that monolith. So I'm thinking the pass is right there. So finally here after 3 hours of climbing, and I believe I'm the first one from either side of the pass to come up to Forester Pass. I'm going to just do a little 360 for you. How new these mountains are. Not as new as the Himalayas, but very sharp-edged. It's amazing that the explorers were able to find their way through and create trails. I'm just going to walk up here so I can show you the other side a little better. This will be our trail down, and a little bit windy, but this is the other side. Just amazing views once you get up this high, and I have no idea if we can see Whitney yet, but let me do the gratuitous selfie like I did before. So the next morning we got up bright and early, actually before the sun was up, so we got to see the sun hitting the clouds and heading in the direction of Mt Whitney. And this is one of my favorite shots of the trip. Mt Whitney reflected in a very small tarn that we passed on the way. And the closer we get, the bigger it looks. Okay, as you may have guessed, this is day 17. And we decided to give ourselves 2 chances to do Whitney. So I'm standing here at Guitar Lake, having come up about 1,000 feet in elevation from Wallace Creek, and it's just after 10 in the morning. So we're going to give Whitney a shot today, which would be a day early. And what we're going to do is go up this ridge to the right is where the trail goes, and eventually you get up to the top of this monster. Very impressive from where we are. And so we may climb Whitney a day early if all goes well. Looks like we have a good weather window. So leaving Guitar Lake behind, we headed up towards a point called Trail Junction, where the Whitney Spur departs from the main trail, and you still have about 2 miles up to Whitney. This trail was extremely difficult, partly because of how steep and how much elevation there was, but also because we had to carry extra water. But eventually, we get to Trail Junction. There's Alan standing there, and we dropped our packs, but we left them open and took all the food out that wasn't in the bear canister because there was a marmot there checking everything out. The first part of the trail was what I call crazy rocks, because the rocks were just jumbled and looked like they might fall apart at any time. It was really very dramatic. Once you get past this initial section, it becomes a bit more straightforward and easy, although you're still pretty much in awe of the surroundings. So after coming up about 1,500 feet from Guitar Lake, or Marty said it was 2,000. It was a lot of feet anyway. We're on our way up to Whitney, and actually the Guitar Lake to Trail Junction is probably harder than this last couple of miles up to Whitney. which are the last 2 miles of the John Muir Trail. You can still see Guitar Lake way below, and we might be not quite halfway there. And that is the top, and I don't know if you can see, there's kind of a shelter with kind of a greenish, coppery green roof. And this is the trail. So with frequent stops for photos and to catch our breath, we kept heading up. I was the only one who remembered to bring a small day pack, so I actually had a personal Sherpa, as Marty volunteered to carry the pack as long as he could put his gear and my gear both in it. Every now and then there'd be a side chasm that would give you a view down to the valley below. And finally, we can see the top right in front of us. Well, believe it or not, we're at the top of Mt Whitney, which marks the completion of our JMT hike. And the view is pretty spectacular, as you can see. And we do have some clouds a-brewing, making us a teeny bit concerned. Let's see how concerned. Let's see how concerned Marty is. He laughs at danger.
It's also a half inch shorter.
210.4 miles.
There we go.
Is that right?
No, probably not. Let's make up something.
210 miles?
Actually, it'd be silly.
220 or 30 or something. Because it's side.
So with a great feeling of satisfaction, and after subjecting ourselves to admiration of other hikers who had not done the full John Muir Trail, we started back down to Trail Junction, admiring again all the crazy rock sections as we get closer to the junction. And believe it or not, you can see the trail there if you look closely. From there, we headed up just a few hundred feet to Trail Crest, and then headed on a very long down to Trail Camp, which is the first campsite that you can use by a fairly small lake. This descent seemed to take forever, and it was 4,500 feet from the top of Whitney to Trail Camp. But even though Marty and Alan got down pretty quickly, it took me till 7 p.m. I'd like to think that was because I was savoring every last minute of my last day on the John Muir Trail. The campsite was quite beautiful at sunset, though. And this will be our last day on trail, having finished the John Muir Trail yesterday. And if you look up here, the broadest part of that series of crags you see, I think, is the actual summit, but it's a little hard to tell from down here in terms of Mt Whitney. And there are people heading up as early as 3 a.m. and heading up now to go up there. So all that remained to do on our day 18 was to hike down the rest of the way to Whitney Portal. As you can admire my full grizzle look there. And then from Whitney Portal, hitch a ride into Lone Pine, where eventually we'll get a bus to Reno and fly home. Before concluding, I'd just like to dedicate this video to everyone that builds and maintains trails that allow for hiking in the backcountry. My hat's off to you. This was an incredible experience.